What's up, gang? What's going on with my homegrown family? We are back. This is chapter 4. We're getting into veg. You guys have made it this far. We appreciate your support on the book. We appreciate you checking in with us. We appreciate you reposting our Twitter X. We appreciate you reposting our Facebook. We appreciate you sharing the book with friends and family, your grow buddies, all that, man. We in here. You guys have been following along, man. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you put some comments, engage with us. DM me on Instagram. DM me on any of the platforms. I'm talking too fast, man. I got a smoke break due up soon. But today we're in here in the garden talking the veg period. We're in chapter 4 of the book, man. Grab your book, grab your pot, and follow along. So at this point, man, we've got our seeds planted. We got our seeds planted out, and there's a couple things we want to go over right quick while we're talking about this stuff right here. Let me grab some of these joints over here. All right, so at this point, we should be a few days in. We should be a couple of weeks in on our planting out, right? We hopefully followed the instructions. Got some feminized seeds, and we either started them out, as we talked about in the book with our soil, we either started them out in something really light, like a really light all-purpose soil. A lot of times when I'm starting off soil, and some research I saw that was really interesting, is when we're starting our seeds off, guys, it's cool a lot of times just to go with a perlite and some type of substrate, whether it be cocoa, whether it be peat moss. There is some feedback saying that too much bacteria, microbial, compost, and organic can inhibit the germination of those seeds. So we should be somewhat along like this. I really like these trays too, because we can put the water in the bottom and allow the roots of the plant to suck up the juice, suck up the water. See those nice white roots? It allows those to suck up the water when they want to suck up the water. Couple of good tips right there on getting our plant started. So that's where we should be so far with that, gang. So if you started with a soil that has nutrients and stuff locked in there with it, you should be somewhat pretty good at that point. You might start seeing some yellowing in the leaves. You might start seeing some slight yellowing in the leaves going on. And that might be the sign that you need to put some more nutrients in there. But these right here look pretty good. They look pretty nice. Can't even complain. These right here look fairly well. So that's what we're looking for at this point. We're looking for signs of struggling plants. Signs of struggling plants would be plants kind of turning yellowing. That's not a good candidate either. She's looking pretty sturdy. Yellowing, spots, things of that specific nature. But at this point, though, the plants should be establishing themselves fairly well. So as we look through the book, man, we get to that point. When we come up, we want to start looking for, like on the plants like these, what we got down here, they're pretty much well established. We want to start looking for more so of our plants that's kind of in the mid-range down here, because those are the ones that are going to be getting planted up. So if we start talking about these guys right here, it's important too to keep good soil saturation. That's one thing we're going to talk about today, keeping the soil well saturated, and also making sure that we don't have the feet too wet. So we're talking about starting our plants. We're in vegetation. We got our little plants. We got them past this point. We'll do another video. Look at those roots in there going crazy. We'll do another video here pretty soon on how we transplanted from here to right here. That's going to be coming up soon. Also with chapter 4, vegetative state. But this is where we're at now, right? So we want to be paying attention to how wet we're keeping our soil, how much food we're feeding, all those type of good things. So those who started with that pre-fed soil, with those pre-fed soils, even when we get to this point, a lot of times we gotta think we'll be using fresh soil. So we'll be using fresh soil that's got fresh nutrients in there, but we're still gonna amend with either dry amendments or feed them at this point. There's a lot of growth going on. This is a clone. Well, this is not a clone. This is a plant that I grew out from a fruiting plant. So you can take a plant that is in budding stage and take a little nug and take a little branch off that and clone it. That's what we see we got going down there. You can see we got down there some clones, and a couple of them look like budded out. What's up, Snoop bro? A couple of them look budded out. That's from finding out late in flower, or finding out in flower that we got something we want to keep, and then we go ahead and clone it out. That is definitely something you can do. Another thing we want to be thinking about in vegetative state is our light. Our light up here, as you can see, I got our light up here rocking at about 50%. I got our light rocking at about 50%. That is a 450 watt light, so it's right around 200 watts is what we're pulling right now. Pretty good standard for our veg situation. We got our bigger plants down here too. This light right here started off as one of my flower lights, right? Started off as one of my flower lights. Then I kind of graduated up to bigger lights, just to give you an idea. Kind of graduated up to bigger lights over here. Flower tent looking amazing. We'll get into flower business soon. Yeah, it kind of graduated into that. But this light here is sufficient enough to get through the whole cycle, but we dedicated it to our vegging cycle. And like we talked about before, it does have the dimming capabilities on there. You can dim it. We can dim it up. We can dim it all the way down. So it has the dimming capabilities that allows us to use it for multiple purposes. That's one thing you want to keep in mind when you're getting equipment. Pieces that you can use for multiple purposes are really good. Now, we wouldn't want to turn that up too high, and we wouldn't want things like our clones and our babies getting really close to that light if we do choose to go higher with the lighting, guys. So that's where I kind of got those over in the corner. These plants here will be going over in the flower tent pretty soon here. So that's why they're getting the stronger light, getting fed heavier because they're in the later stage of veg. In the later stage of veg, we're going to start seeing what a lot of us like to call our pre-flowers. You'll start seeing the flowers in your plants actually start showing the sex a little bit. These are all feminized plants. I know them because I bought the feminized seeds. But this is what our female top looks like, or when a plant starts showing its sex, this is what the female version looks like with those pistils coming out right there on the side. This is what we want. Since they're late in flower, their hormones are recognizing the growth they've got on them. So they're starting to show what a pre-flower. So these are getting close. That's how we're nowhere to that point. They're starting getting a little bit more stretchy, starting getting a little bit more distance between the nodes. These are the nodes right here, guys. When we're talking about nodes, we're talking about this spacing right here. The spacing in between each one of these, from here to this one, down to that one, node spacing. Node spacing starts getting a lot stretchier when we get closer to the end. Now, when we're talking about watering, remember we were talking about initial drenches and things like that? A lot of my other tent has an auto pots in there for the plants water themselves. It's good to keep wet feet, but you'll see a lot of times if you keep kind of wet feet on your plants, not soaking wet where you have root issues, but if you keep them nice and hydrated, you will see really nice vigorous growth. You kind of see these guys over here looking nice like this. These ones over here don't get as much water, or they can't get enough water per pot. You kind of see the difference in them sagging. I've let these guys over here get too big for the pot. That's one thing we got to consider in vegetative growth too. When we let plants get too big, and I like to go with 3 gallons. 3 gallons is our standard here at Homegrown Magazine. When we let our plants get too big, we end up with a situation like this, where it's kind of hard to keep it watered. Like, it's very hard to keep this plant enough water because this root system just sucks up the water, and it's only in a 3-gallon pot. So keep that in mind. The longer you veg out plants, if you get kind of with that greedy, or not even greedy mentality, you start letting plants get really big before you flower them out, you'll see that you'll be watering a lot more, feeding a lot more, the whole nine. So it definitely helps with perpetual growth to have plants constantly going, but when you have a problem kind of managing it, it gets a little bit crazy. One thing we do want to talk about was keeping wet feet. Now with our soil, we have to understand that with the soil, man, we feed the soil and the soil feeds the plant. So it's very important for us to keep the soil health correct. If you've ever been around a compost pile or any type of pile of that nature where bacteria and things like that were thriving and had a very stench, rank smell to it, that was an anaerobic type of situation. That means it's not good oxygen, it's too much wetness, too much moisture, and the biology is off. The microbes aren't breaking it down, and we get a lot of decay, slime, and all of that. In a healthy compost pile, we get what we call aerobic activity going on. Good oxygen flow, good heat going on in there, the right amount of moisture, and the bacteria thrives. We have to make sure we keep that aerobic environment going on in our plants. So we want to make sure we keep them watered, but we also want to make sure we don't go too far on our watering to the point where they end up in an anaerobic environment and they don't get the good beneficials going. Because soil bacteria is very important to us. Soil bacteria, fungus, mycorrhizae, all those things are extremely important to us. We have to keep that in mind. So as we get to day 21, we want to also remember too, that's the time, like I said, on our plants down here, like this size, we want to start thinking about what type of soil we started with. Was our soil charged? Do we need to refill food? Every 2 to 3 weeks, if you're rocking organics, you need to start thinking about that next feeding. And really, instead of 2 to 3 weeks, you're probably thinking every 8 to 12 days, because you want to make sure if it's a dry amendment, you get it in there and start breaking down. Now, as far as we're talking about breaking down, let's slide back over this way. Breaking down nutrients and things like that. This is going to be a great product for us. Oh, we got to get our light back action. Get our light back popping up in here. What's going on? There we go. Yeah, so if we're talking about soil inoculation, yeah, we on the book. I like this. I love this, what we got going on right now. We got the book for you guys here and the book for you guys here. Now, if we're talking about the right type of environment in our soil, that's a lot of times why we're using stuff like mycos. You see where it says there, pure mycorrhiza inoculate, soil inoculation. We're shooting to have colonies, I'm tripping. We're shooting to have colonies of good bacteria. Damn, I'm off the chain tonight. We're shooting to have colonies of good bacteria in our soil to help create that environment where the soil feeds the plant, and we're not trying to feed the plant ourselves. So that's why it's important to keep that foliar going. I'm sorry, not the foliar. That's why it's important to keep the bacteria right, using stuff like mycos. Another thing we're going to see about in our grows, and you're going to hear a lot about too, is Cal-Mag supplements. Calcium and magnesium are two very important things that you're going to see and hear about a lot in veg. One of the things about calcium and magnesium is calcium is not one of the NPKs, but it's definitely a core nutrient needed for the plant health. You see, we got another 10 over here with veg, kind of struggling a little bit, different stages. And guys, I got different stages of veg, different stages of flower, but we always want to have something dank to smoke, man. Unless you continue to grow and continue to do your thing, you'll get to that point too, where you're kind of rolling like that and keep a perpetual grow. A couple things we want to think about. We talked about earlier the light cycles. Right back over here, the light cycles in our 10 over here, 24-hour light. 24-hour light over here. Videos before we explained this to you guys about the photo periods, the auto flowers, the 12-12s, the 18-6s, all that. Over here is 24-hour light. That's how we keep everything in check and everything vegging properly without going into flower. As we follow deeper into chapter 4, we're going to talk about our foliar feeding, how we're feeding in a vegetative state, all that jazz. I just wanted to come give you guys an update, let you see how our vegetative state is going here at Homegrown Magazine, start getting you guys some tips and getting you more familiar with it. And we out this camping now. Peace.